So what Season 2, Episode 10 of Jujutsu Kaisen proves is the fact that Geto x Gojo is without a doubt the OTP of this anime, because even after a brain swap, where imposter Geto pops in, takes that brain right out of the dead body after Jujutsu Kaisen 0, puts his own brain in, what happens with instinct, pure instinct, with a body that no longer has the original brain there? It tries to strangle a fool because don't you touch his boy, and if that ain't true love, I don't know what is. But seriously, that was one hell of an episode. Now, is it going to be as buzzed and talked about as last week? Of course not, because that was the big shocking moment. There was so much action, and, Gojo pretty much gets stumped. They get the jump on him at the end. And this episode concludes that. They properly seal him. And even though he's kind of kicking back and relaxing, it is very bad because honestly, it reminds me of in any sort of like superhero story, whether that's a Batman or anything of the likes, when the Cape Crusader disappears after keeping a lot of the lower class criminals at bay. Sure, the big boys always are causing a ruckus, but Gojo, similar to the Dark Knight, he does strike an element of fear. He was the top dog, and when the top dog's around, those smaller fish, they aren't going to try to do anything too crazy out of fear of getting absolutely obliterated. But with him now sealed and that known, there's going to be a lot of danger that's going to be lurking around every corner, and that's really exciting as a viewer experience, but gotta be terrifying for any of the characters who are going to have to deal with that nonsense. Now, I do have a full live reaction to today's wonderful episode over on my Patreon, so if you would like to see that, it's over there if you're interested. Now, this episode, it definitely gets me excited. I think anytime you show Geto, anytime you show Gojo, those are always going to be my favorite moments, of course, but I do like what they did with the sealing, because ultimately, Gojo, despite being in a pretty nasty predicament, didn't really show a lot of fear. If anything, the smack talk continued even after being pretty much strung up, hung up, and pretty much left for dead. And I really like what they did, because had they just sealed him in the cube and just walked away, how in the hell would Yuji or any of these characters locate them to begin with, but most importantly, have even an element of hope to do anything? Because what you need to do, and a good author will do this, they'll make a situation look very dreadful, almost like this is impossible, but they'll give you the carrot on the stick. And the carrot on the stick in this case is that the cube can't move. So basically, Gojo being who he is, there's a lot to process. And at first, I wasn't sure what the hell was going on, because we're seeing the cube cry. It was freaking out. I was like, oh, our boy's fighting from within. And then we actually see what he's doing, and he's just kicking back. He's relaxed. He's like, oh, time's not really moving around here. So you have to consider the fact that not only is it cool, the fact that Gojo is such a complex thing to consume, that the cube just has to basically sit there. It has to be isolated, meaning they know exactly where to look for Gojo. So that's kind of where the carrot on the stick moment comes in. But on the flip side, you also have to consider the fact Gojo just not feeling scared in there and just chilling. You have to wonder how much will he be thinking about plan-wise of what he wants to do if he can get out, and what that could mean for the, the receiving end if he ever does get out, whether someone like Yuji comes in and sets him free or whatever might happen. But either way, we went from a situation that was like, okay, Gojo, we ain't even gonna look at him whatsoever. They're gonna take that cube, they're gonna store it in a safe, they're gonna cement it and just put it in the ocean, right? They're not gonna want to have to deal with that nonsense. And now it is trapped there. Now Geto, being Geto, he's from the beginning of this arc has been very confident, and he still feels that, and I think rightfully so. They're doing rather well. But it is cool to see what they did, and I like the idea of the body instinct just almost trying to strangle itself, because this isn't you, like, this is my body, get out. And it's interesting because, the whole concept of what is the soul, where does the soul live, and then something like that happens. It was a really nice moment overall. But it is kind of cool seeing all the different pieces start to kind of link up, because what I said, I think I said it maybe last week, or I've said it within this arc, is that if you do keep Gojo around for too long, I mean, ultimately a lot of these characters aren't going to have times to shine. And there is a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen characters. I mean, at one point we see Panda, it's like 2 seconds and Panda's just kind of like strangling a fool. Like, there's a lot of characters who would be pushed to the sidelines if Gojo could just continue to do what he did last week up until obviously his guard dropped when he's like, what the hell, are you a ghost? Is this an imposter syndrome? What's going on? You would just be wiping the floor nonstop. So what this author did a smart job with is by removing Gojo so that the other characters are going to have different groups that they're going to fight with. And there's some cool fights coming up for sure. Now, they're weird. I mean, we did fight a damn grasshopper with his dong just kind of hanging out a couple weeks back. And we have some person with a dog, and honestly, I think that's going to be a pretty cool fight. But either way, there's a lot of things brewing, but something that was quite the pleasant surprise in this episode was Mechamaru popping up and it just kind of ringing in. Of course, our boy's just almost immediately just trying to strangle a fool through the telephone. But it's interesting of having like this advanced failsafe that would only activate if Gojo gets sealed. And how he's saying, like, I'm not going to be here for too long, but honestly, by the end of the episode, we're still seemingly talking with him, so I don't know how long that's going to last for, but at the very least, after thinking Mechamaru would at the very least get away and then send a message or something, I mean, I thought we weren't going to hear from him whatsoever, so that was a very happy surprise for me after seeing my boy get absolutely crushed into this little eyeball cube. But this is what I really like about Jujutsu Kaisen, is that you can simply have an episode after having the strongest character seemingly defeated by the end of last week's episode. We walk into this, we have some surprises like that body trying to attack itself because this isn't your body, get the hell out of my body sort of a situation. But at the same time, this was basically set up, getting all the other characters up to speed of what's going on, the shock, the disbelief, and the fear of saying, how could the top dog be sealed whatsoever? But in that case, then, yeah, plans are starting to change. And this was fun. They sprinkle in a nice little couple moments of action. Our boy drop kicking fools. I mean, at one point I saw Waldo in the background. 2 videos back, give or take, I mentioned how someone was dressed up like Where's Waldo from the books. Seemingly he's still making it, but honestly, these humans, there isn't enough psych wards going around. Like, we're seeing dozens, if not hundreds of people just drooling, eyes rolled to the back of their head. The shit they've been through is not going to be recovered. Like, they are going to be traumatized for life if they don't just get skewered, because half the time Mahito is just punching through fools and making bets of what to do. Like, okay, if I find Yuji, I'll kill him. If you find him, well, you can feed a couple of fingers and we'll see where Sukuna goes from here. And it's like, this is just playtime. This is like children arguing on who gets the candy, and we're literally dealing with people's lives in the palm of their hands. And this is why this group is so fascinating and just such a terrifying, if not entertaining group to follow. There is a lot of potential for death for so many characters. I mean, when you pretty much start an arc off by sealing the strongest person away, that sets the stage that things are just gonna get worse before they get better. And we all expect that, I think, or at least a majority of us probably do. But at the same time, we know we are going to have badass moments from our hero's side, our protagonists, and those W's are gonna feel oh so delicious when we do win, whether small battles, larger battles against characters like Mahito, but at the same time we know a character like Geto, there's a reason for that confidence, and that confidence is very intimidating as it stands, but time will tell where we go from here. Let me know your thoughts on this episode though down below, theories if you got any, if you're an anime original of course. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell so you get notified when I upload more Jujutsu Kaisen to the channel, and like I mentioned, we have a full live reaction over on my Patreon if you're interested, and hey, while you're there you also get a video shout out. So today we have Wade Smith, Wesley Davis, Wujan, Zeno, X Nico, and Yora Luca. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.